is a lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now. Jeremy Lee in the building and every guest that you ever needed. Sports cards after hours keep the hobby heated. Updates, hobby talk like you never seen it. Sports cards live and none could ever beat it. Sports cards is a lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now. Welcome to another episode of Sports Cards Live with your host, Jeremy Lee.
All right, and we are back live once again. Welcome everyone to the PWCC Weekly Hockey Auction Live coverage. Today is Sunday, May the 14th, 2023, and my name is Jeremy Lee. As always, thank you to everyone tuning in. Thank you to all of our subscribers, podcast listeners, chat partakers. Grateful for all of you. If you are not yet subscribed to the YouTube channel or following on Spotify, please take a moment and do so. Let's bring out tonight's co-host from the Hockey Cards Gongshow, Josh Madigan. Welcome back yet once again. How are you on this fine Mother's Day Sunday evening?
I'm awesome. Glad to be back. Excited to talk hockey cards. I'm exhausted. Been taking care of the women in my life all day like they deserve. So it's been a good day. Ready to talk some hockey cards.
So we have something in common. I am also pretty exhausted today. I've been tired today. It's not only is it Mother's Day, it also is my wife's birthday. So double duty on that today, but also get to kill two birds with one stone in a way. So busy day here in our household, and but glad to be doing this. And here we are off to the races. There's 188 hockey cards up for auction this week. I was looking at some of the past weekly totals, and it's not the lowest, but it's a lower number than we've seen lately. Actually, I don't think I documented last week how many we saw, but the week before was, or the time before, because we were traveling before that, was 299, 313. We've seen a 464. And then, back a few weeks ago or a couple months ago, we were down to 213, 147. In any event, we have 188 today. And you and I have identified 32 that we're going to look at tonight. We've got 32 cards favorited on the platform, on the PWCC weekly auction tonight. And we'll get to those. It's a nice manageable number, Josh. So I'm excited about that. To the chat, if there's anything that you'd like us to look at, throw it out there and we will do our best, definitely, to get to it and to take a look. Josh, look who's here. We've got Name in the house. Name, what is going on? Great to see you. And a collector's dream, guys. Thank you for being here and, of course, letting us know that you are. And a happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. If we have any mothers watching or listening, happy Mother's Day to all of you. But also, happy Mother's Day to your mothers, to your daughters, to your grandmothers, to your aunts, to your granddaughters, maybe, if depending what your vintage is. But it's always a nice day to celebrate the mothers in our lives. The professor is back in the house. Enjoyed last night's Royal Rumble, complete with expletives in the chat. Last night was a fun show, no doubt, Professor. Good to see you. And Jake Dahl, what is going on? All right, well, let's get right into it, Josh. I'll throw up the screen share. Again, as I mentioned, we've got 32 cards that we're going to look at tonight, and we're going to start off with one of my favorite. I gotta say, Josh, I say it so much. I have a lot of favorites. I think that's the only thing I can say to kind of justify how many times I say it. I have a lot of favorite cards in this hobby, but the 52 Parkers Tim Horton rookie is definitely one of my favorite cards. I bought my copy 15 years ago, and I just love it. So tonight on the block we have a PSA 7 with an OC qualifier, which is quite apparent why. This card is off-centered, it's low, it's to the right. 52 Parkhurst, notorious for centering challenges. Really tough to find a well-centered 52 Parkhurst card, and this one matches that expectation. But when I'm looking at it, and this is the first time I've taken a good look at it, so let's blow it up a little bit. And you look at this card, the edges, the corners are all wonderful for the grade. Josh, if you can tell, the registration is like, I can see it's not perfect, but it doesn't impact the clarity of his face, which is kind of what you want to see. And maybe it's because, one of the plates that doesn't have any action in the facial region here. But this card, although not perfectly registered, it's not really a bothersome flaw in the card. This is really a beautiful card. This is a facsimile autograph. It's not an autograph on the card. This Tim Horton likely never touched or put his, well, for sure never put his autograph on it. Likely never touched this card. But this is not a bad example if you don't mind having one of these qualifiers right up here. A lot of people don't like these, but a lot of people don't really care. I sold in Edmonton last weekend, I sold a PSA 8 miscut Gretzky rookie. So miscut is even a more egregious defect than OC. OC is just off center. Miscut is like it's off center, but it's kind of off the card altogether on one of the edges on the front or the back. So this isn't that bad, but if this wasn't designated as OC, this would probably fall in the PSA 5 range is what I think. How about you, Josh? What do you think of the Tim Horton rookie card?
Love the card. Gained to learn to appreciate it over the past year and kind of getting to know you and after your masterclass on the Parkhurst run on our show. This particular card is just not for me. I would prefer a PSA 5 with worse corners and maybe rougher edges, but that is more centered. In a lot of ways, it's a shame because this card is so beautiful in almost every other regard that it's so off-centered. But one of the beautiful things about the hobby is we all have our likes and our dislikes and preferences, and centering is a big deal to me. And I just can't look at this card and not be distracted by that. But there's other people that would enjoy this card till the day they die. So it's just not for me.
Yeah, I completely understand. And you're not in the minority there, but I do want to speak to the minority for a second because these are like I don't want to like, be crap, I'll say, on all off-centered cards. And listen, they're not as I have some in my collection that are this badly off-centered for various reasons. My Jackie Robinson rookie is this badly off-centered. But I tell a story, 2013 Cleveland National. I remember walking around, I'm at a table and this guy pulls up next to me. Well, this group of dudes pull up next to me and I hear them talking. And one of them says, one of the guys showing his buddies, I forget the grade, but it was an OC qualifier. I think it was a Gretzky rookie in Cleveland. He's like, look what I just picked up. It was a deal. But how do you feel about the OC qualifier? This card, I'll take a card that's this nice day of the week, sort of. You can hear me and see me right now. I might be having
I think you're a little bit choppy right now.
Well, what my point is that there are some people out there who love corners and edges and don't mind an off-centered card as much as many people do. So while the narrative is centering, there is a place for off-center cards. And if it doesn't bother you as much, then this is a great candidate for you. But I think that's a minority sort of opinion and approach to collecting for a lot of people. Okay, we've got this 1961 Topps Rod Gilbert rookie card.
Jeremy? Did we lose Jeremy? I don't know. Am I still live? See, I can't even see the chat. All right, I'm going to go on, try to upload this show. Are you back?
I'm back. I don't know.
Okay.
I just got kicked out of here, so I'm back.
Wasn't
if
me.
It happens again, go ahead.
It wasn't me. I kicked you out.
Definitely me. If it happens again, I'll just keep on coming back. Hopefully this is just an intermittent sort of thing. Okay, I was just speaking to the Rod Gilbert here, and I'm sorry if I'm going to be a bit of a storyteller tonight, Josh and everybody, but the Rod Gilbert rookie holds a special place for me, guys, because I grew up going to Joe Daly Sports Cards in Winnipeg, and he had in one of his window displays a Rod Gilbert and a Jean Rattel. He had the pair of rookies in his case for a couple of years, and I used to, like, $200 each. I used to look at them and think I'd look at them and think those are really nice. Like, they're beautiful cards. They're Hall of Famers. One day I want to own them. And I looked at them so many times that I got to just something like they became really important to me because I'd see those in his showcase weekend after weekend for a couple of years. And I ended up picking up a pair of them. I forget if I bought those from Joe Daly or from somewhere else, but in any event, the 61 has really two main rookies. This guy, Rod Gilbert, and his line mate, Jean Rattel. And these are both Hall of Famers. They're both two of the all-time great New York Rangers. And you don't see much talk about them, but back in the 80s, this card, and maybe the 90s even, this card was extremely important. So, yeah, I love the card. One funny thing is like his 62 tops is the exact same picture. His 63 might be as well. But in any event, this is a great card, somewhat underrated. And I just mean that by like from a hobby love perspective. When we take a look at it, centering is okay, definitely within a 7. It's certainly off center to the left. Top to bottom looks good, but look at the surface. Mm-hmm. Look at the color. Look at the registration, the edges, the corners. I mean, this card almost seems harshly graded to me. I wouldn't blink an eye if this was an 8. I would not blink an eye. The centering would fall within 8 standards. So this might be a really nice pickup for somebody who's working on, a Rangers Hall of Famer collection, a Hall of Famer collection, a 61 top set. This is a very nice 7. And yeah, $230 right now. It's not a very expensive card. Both of these cards are nice entries into these players' rookie cards so far. What about you, Josh? What do you know about Rod Gilbert?
Very little, but that's part of like why we do our show and why I like doing this show too, is because you get to learn about some of these guys. So honestly, don't know a lot about him. What I will say about this card is, even though, as we talked about with the Tim Horton rookie, and as I am a little bit of a centering snob, this off center doesn't bother me as much, just because it's not as pronounced, and the kind of what's going on with the borders of the card, I think mask, to me at least, the centering a little bit. And this is going to sound like all my comments on the show. I get the Superman vibes when I look at this card. Does that hit you at all too?
Yeah, I've never had that original thought, but a little Clark Kent there. Sure. I can see what you're saying. Your comments about centering, as I look at it, and I'm wondering, like, why is the centering disguised on this card compared to the Tim Horton? And I think it's got to be the way that the white border is so light. And then instead of going into a dark background like you do here, you go into this yellow kind of outline around the green background. So it almost camouflages the centering. And that's a good thing, because the centering is not as pronounced. Let's go to Name's comment here. He speaks to this and he says, just my opinion, but I feel when you go back that far in the date, like to the 51, 52, 52, 53, centering, edges, and corners all go out the window for me. All of those features add character to it. Like, I love that. I love that approach because I share that to a degree. I love a nice, naturally rounded corner on a card from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s as well. Maybe after that, I think I'm going to be shy away from it. But yeah, I love that comment from Name right there. Let's take a look at the Yvan Cournoyer rookie. This is a PSA 8, so a pretty high grade for a 1965 Topps card. We call these Topps cards. PSA calls them Topps card. These cards are printed in Canada, just by the way, by the O-Pee-Chee company, but they're known as Topps cards. And this is a great looking card. It is off center to the left. Not too bad, but it's not perfectly centered, but the registration on this thing is like, it's bang on. And I'm looking at like where the yellow meets his body, where it meets the jersey, this yellow kind of hole here under his armpit. It's the ink is perfectly placed. A well-registered copy. Corners, edges look really good. Centering isn't that bad. Another case like the Rod Gilbert, I wouldn't be surprised if this said 8.5 on it. I wouldn't have blinked an eye. It's not a very recent slabbing by PSA. This is kind of close to when they introduced their Lighthouse label, the 2/8. But in any event, I think this is a really nice copy. There can always be things that we can't see surface-wise when I make comments like that. But Josh, what are your thoughts on the Cournoyer PSA 8 near mint to mint rookie card?
Beautiful card for the era. I think this would be a great card to own. What's the bid at right now for that?
$775.
Okay, so pretty much in line with last comp. Last comp was in December for $950 US, roughly. It has gone a PSA 8 has gone as high as looks like 1600. So we'll probably be in that range.
Yeah. Well, a great example as far as I'm concerned. I like all three of these cards for what they are. I really do. And even these two, I just like them. Like these would be welcome in my collection any day. This one wouldn't be as much. Well, listen, I don't mean to sound like a snob about it. It's still an amazing card, but I would, like you, Josh, I would look for a more centered copy. But again, this is look at this. It's an amazing piece. Like maybe I would be happy to have it. I own a pretty strong copy of this, so I'm not in the market for one, but yeah, it's a nice copy as off center as it is. Let's keep on going. Let's go to the next row of three. We've got a 1966 Topps. This is a test version, a USA test card, Bobby Hull, PSA 6. There weren't a lot of vintage cards to look at this week, so I picked this one out because the USA test set is one that it used to be something that the veterans of the hobby loved. It was rare. It wasn't, it was made in very limited quantities. It was distributed in a limited region in the US. And the Bobby Orr is really the Topps Test Bobby Orr is a very famous card. But why wouldn't the Bobby Hull be a famous card? And the Gordie Howe? I mean, these names are pretty much as big as the Bobby Orr name. It's just that these aren't rookies. This and the Gordie from the set. The Bobby Orr obviously is a rookie. But this is a nice looking card still. I've never owned this card in the regular version or the test version, but I just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention. The difference between the test version and the regular version is the color of the wood grain. It's a lot lighter in the USA test version. The regular Topps version is a darker wood grain around the border of the card. Just take a closer look at it here. As far as it being graded a 6, and we can tell it's a relatively new or recent slab job or grading job by PSA. Centering, it's situated high. I've seen enough of these cards with analyzing Bobby Orr's for years to know that this top border is quite narrow. You'd like it to be wider along the top, and you can see there's a lot more border at the bottom. But I'd almost rather have this card, any 1966 Topps card, off center, top to bottom versus left to right. You look at a Bobby Orr Topps test, you're always going to see a white line down the side here. And I think they're all like that. This card doesn't have that. So it must have been that the Bobby Orr was on the far right of the sheet is my speculation. And this was somewhere in the middle. So it doesn't have any white. I'm also noticing now this looks like a print defect right across here. Josh, do you see that? It's almost like a purplish line that comes right up to his nose. And I can't tell if this is, are these some, is that a scar above his lip there? Or is that something on the card? I'm just not sure. I'd have to look at other copies. But aside from those, the edges are very nice. The corners are very nice for the grade. Even the centering is acceptable for what, because side to side is to me much more offensive. And this one doesn't contain that centering issue. So I think it's, if you don't mind this print defect here, I think that's probably that right there probably cost this thing at least one, maybe 2 grade. Well, probably 1 grade point right there. And then the corners are just, less than perfect. So that's going to bring it down as well. But a fine copy overall. Josh, your thoughts?
I think it's a really cool card. One of the things I appreciate about it is the amount of detail in the background, which is kind of maybe an odd observation, but from what I have seen and going these 50s and 60s cards is that the backgrounds are, there and meant to be perceptible as to that they're in an arena, but it just feels like there's an incredible amount of detail in the background here, more than you would typically see. Again, I'm not a huge Bobby Hull collector, so the card, it's from that perspective wouldn't appeal to me, but For a PSA 6, I think it's a really nice copy with the one thing is just trying to understand what's going on around his nose to the end of the card there. But pretty cool card.
You called out the background, and when I was looking at it, I wasn't even really focused on this area here. But now that you say it, I love this. Is like a beautiful piece of art here. The people in the crowd, everyone's different. There's some empty seats. That's kind of neat. But I love here. You got the
security guards.
Yeah, you've got the security or the police right there in case anything breaks out in the stands or on the ice. Looks like here you've got another official of sorts. And then you got the Leafs bench. You've got them sitting here with almost direct access from the row behind them. There's no glass behind here. There's no glass on the boards back then. This is a really nice background, maybe the nicest background of a card that I remember seeing, to be honest. I think it's really cool. I'm glad you called that out. I also like that you can see the row C, D, E, F right on the steps here. And then it goes up here too, H, I, J, K. That's kind of neat, right? I just think that's really awesome. So thanks for calling that out. This guy's at $310 right now. Topps test are rarer than the regular Topps edition. Before we move on, Giamaz lets us know that the Topps Cournoyer card is an error card. It's Yvan, not Yvonne. And yeah, well, that may be the case. I don't believe it's ever been corrected, which it's like it's an error, but who cares sort of error, except if you're really him or his family that might be offended by that. 1978 O-Pee-Chee Bobby Orr PSA 8 near mint to mint. I always pull these cards up because I do believe there are lots of people out there going for the Bobby Orr run from 66 until 78, I believe, when he had his last playing days card. And this one would fit right in there. Chicago Blackhawks, not something he's known as much for, but he definitely played there. So it's a pretty cool card. It looks airbrushed to me from a distance. Like this thing is definitely airbrushed. Like you can just tell, right? This is an air. And look, they almost forgot this yellow here. That looks like the bottom of the Bruins jersey. What else would that be there, right? That's definitely airbrushed. So, but nonetheless, a card that is going to be interesting to a lot of people. So we bring it up $135 right now. And then we get into a fourth year Wayne Gretzky 82, 83. So it's actually PWCC actually mislabeled it here in the description. This is not a 1981. This is a 1982 O-Pee-Chee Gretzky. It's in a BGS 9.5 holder. It's one of these cards that is likely, sheet cut, not pack pulled, but BGS is okay with that. They always have been. So it's now up to the buyer, the collector, to decide if they are okay with that. And, that's why it's graded as high as it is, because it was cut with great care as a one-off cut, not in one among a stack of sheets under the guillotine or by the wire cutters. So a very nice copy from, the edges and corners are going to be perfect. And they pretty much are. The centering looks to be great. I'm going to guess, and I don't know the subgrades off the top of my head. I don't remember them. I'm going to guess that the surface is the 9, and we don't even have subgrades. So I'll just stop right there. But that said, when you see these cards, if the the subgrades might be on the back of this one, but if there's no subgrades, often the case with one of these 80s O-Pee-Chee BGS 9.5s is that the subgrades will be all 9.5s except the surface, which will be a 9, because these were often rolled up in like a poster would have been. Josh, any comments on these last two?
Yeah, so I think the Bobby Orr card is kind of cool. The only thing that I kind of think about there with Orr is, and it's not really the card itself. To me, it's kind of like a Joe Montana card in a Chiefs uniform, right? It's just something that'll never kind of feel right about that. And then what's interesting to me as I think about how my collecting experience has evolved in looking at the Wayne Gretzky, I think 6 months ago, I would have been, and I really do like the card. I still like it, and I wouldn't mind having it. But I have really grown to appreciate the pack pulled on the O-Pee-Chee with a little bit of the wire cut edges that show that little bit of fraying, and that's really grown on me, which I just think is interesting, because I was sitting here thinking, it's like, man, 6 months ago I would have been like falling all over that card, and now it's like it's really nice. I still appreciate it, but I think my preference would be to have that more kind of original pack pulled example or, or
Yeah,
copy of
yeah.
the card.
And I think that's the, call it the purist approach. That's definitely my approach. And I was surprised, even at the Edmonton Expo, I don't remember the card or the person, but someone, I believe it was there, someone showed me a card they had just bought. They were so happy with it. And I saw it, and it was one of these BGS 95 80s OPG cards. And I didn't say anything. I don't want to rain on their parade. They were so pleased with the card, and who am I to criticize their approach to the hobby? Like, I have no right to do. I have no right to judge what they want to collect that way, and I don't have an issue with anyone collecting it. I really don't. Not for me, but that's okay. We're all different people. So, nice card overall. And if you're okay with non-pack pulled, then could be right up your alley.
Really nice.
Because the thing that people that like these cards will say is that it's an authentic card. I mean, it was
100%.
Printed. Yeah. All right, continuing on. So we're out of vintage already. We only really had 6 vintage cards to look at this week in the PWCC Hockey Weekly, and now we're moving into the 90s. And I just had to pull up this Paul Kariya, because Paul Kariya was such a great player in his day, part of the one half of the dynamic duo with my all-time favorite player, Teemu Selanne. And I remember this card coming out, Josh, and chasing it and wanting to put together a full sheet of like a 9-pocket sheet page, fill them all up with Paul Kariya rookies. Team Canada, of course, is what he is pictured in, not portrayed here in his Anaheim Mighty Ducks uniform, but still what is considered his rookie card. It's in a PSA 10 gem mint holder. Looks to be an older slab, but these cards were very, very well produced. So, but I want to take a look at it. It's $48 right now. I'm not sure what the population is. It's probably a lot lower than some of these cards that you guys cover, the ultra modern stuff on the Gong Show based on recent Young Guns and everything. But anyway, a nice card, and a lot of people are going to want one of these for their collection. So how about you, Josh? What are your thoughts on Paul Kariya?
Oh, I love it. I mean, this gets back to, so I'm 45, and I would have been 15 in 1992, and this is my wheelhouse. And when I was a collector, and the players that I really loved, and so just for pure nostalgic reasons, it brings me back, and it's priced right about where it typically goes. So, the other thing too, of course, there's a part of me that loves when records are set in the hobby, and every day we show cards that break records, but there's also another part of me that loves cards like these that anyone can have if you want. And it's just as a collector, that when if you have that nostalgic experience, or he's a player in your favorite team, and sometimes when a card's $50, it's awesome.
It's awesome. That's right. $50 is a nice way to get into a card, especially in a PSA 10 gem mint holder. Now, just a warning, everybody, not that it matters that much, but we are 2 minutes away from extended bidding kicking in. You can place your opening bids during extended bidding. But if there is not a bid placed on an item within that first half hour of extended bidding, that item will close. And secondly, Nick Martelli in the house. Good evening, Nick. Good to see you. And we were just talking about Paul Kariya, who is, one half of that dynamic duo with Teemu Selanne. I got to meet Nick Martelli. Nick, I'm sorry, I forget if it was in Edmonton or Toronto. It's all a blur to me, but Nick actually gifted me this card right here, Josh, in wherever. I must have been Toronto where I saw. Yeah, this was Toronto? This was Toronto. So thanks again, Nick, for that. I greatly appreciate that gift. Okay. Name has a questions for you, Josh. Since this is from your era for nostalgia, how do you feel about Kariya being in the Team Canada jersey?
It doesn't bother me. There isn't a huge affinity to U.S. hockey in the U.S. Like when I was in Canada, and a couple times now for the Expo, and I think in the fall there was Team Canada junior games playing at the bar, and the crowd was like really into it. We just don't follow it as close here. And, we have the 1980 Olympics, of course, but it's not, I don't think, the same level that it is in Canada. And so it doesn't bother me at all. That, I don't feel any competitive animosity to seeing him in a Team Canada jersey. I think more often we're surprised when we beat Canada, frankly.
Yeah. Well, that's fair. We're surprised when we lose to Team USA in
I'm
hockey.
sure.
And next up, a pair of Crosbys. Okay, these two, we have his ultimate rookie card, his 0506 Ultimate Collection rookie out of 299 with what is a gorgeous auto. And by gorgeous, I'm referring to just the brightness of that blue. I mean, this thing looks like it has never seen light at all. What a amazing Crosby autograph there. 114 out of 299. Graded a gem mint 9.5 by Beckett with the obvious 10 autograph. Corners are a 9. The other subs are a 9.5. Let's see if we can find. I'm just curious if I can see anything that says, oh, yeah, that's why the corners didn't get a higher grade. And on the front of the card, like, it's one of those white corner cards where if the corner grade is the lowest sub, it's almost like, who cares? Because you can't even see it. That's what happened with me, my Reggie Jackson rookie. Anyway, that's a whole other story. It's a different sport, a different era and everything. But like, yeah, this card is great. I do really like this card overall. It's got a lower serial number than his SP Authentic rookie card, which will sell for likely double to triple what this one will. So I think there's really good value in this card. And I can kind of walk that walk and talk that talk, because I made a play in Edmonton and picked up a Jason Robertson ultimate rookie out of 299 autographed. And I'm going to have this instead of his SP Authentic, which will sell for 4 times. Remember, Josh, last time we did the show, one of these sold for $400 or $410. Yep. And I said, oh man, I think I should have picked it up. What a great card. What a great price. Well, I got one like the next weekend at the Edmonton show.
Very nice.
For like the $400 value. So yeah, I think there's good value in these ultimate rookie cards. And it's not like it's a brand new brand that has no equity, but the SP Authentic Future Watch autos do get more love. Great card right here. This one does come with the Jeremy Lee recommendation, which is a new thing I've just started saying. And Josh, we also have a PSA 10 Young Guns. Not much. We're not going to take an in-depth look at this. There's no shortage of these out there, but they continue to be hot sellers. 2,300 on the Young Gun, 3,000 on the Ultimate. Josh, your comments on these cards, please.
I love the Crosby Ultimate as well. And one thing that we've been trying to preach on our show a lot is sort of trying to zig while other people zag a little bit. And I think that, and this is me putting a little bit of my investor hat on now from that perspective in the hobby. And the last sale on a PSA 10 Young Guns was $3,000. So right now, and there's 961 of them that are just in PSA 10. And if you think of the BGS 9.5, it's probably bigger than that. I haven't memorized the number. So you have a auto that's numbered out of 299 with the gem mint grade for roughly the same price. And going back to, in the long run, scarcity always wins when it comes from a value perspective. And I would even use this example to think ahead a little bit, where we're all in the kind of swept up in the whole Connor Bedard momentum. And let's think about what's going to happen when Series 2 comes out next year. And there's going to be a lot of Young Guns out there. I think it's ultimately the people that zag while others are zigging, if that makes sense, that will find cards like this, whether it be for Crosby or Bedard or Connor McDavid, whoever you collect, that are going to reap the benefits over the long haul. Maybe not immediately, right? But in the long run, I really do believe scarcity always wins.
Yeah, I think this is a savvy pickup right here, because you are kind of zagging when everyone else is zigging, and for whatever reason, these ultimates just don't get the love. And it's look at it. It's not like it's an unattractive card. This thing is
super
beautiful. Nice. Like, it's SPA is always a beautiful card to me. There's one year I don't love, a little bit too much action on it in one of the last few years. I forget which one, but SPA, always a beautiful card. Ultimate has always been a beautiful rookie card too. 0607 was a little funky, a little maybe too much gold on it, whatever. But in any event, a really nice card. I'm sitting here thinking about it for myself right now as we ruminate over it here. And of course, there is this one right here. A couple comments before we move on. First of all, Nick, yes, was great to meet you as well. He goes on to say that Kariya was the start of the smaller, speedy scorers after Theo Fleury and Marty St. Louis. Solid era of Hall of Famers from that era. I do think, though, Nick, that Marty St. Louis came around a little bit after Kariya, a few years later, but I hear what you're saying. No doubt about that. What is up, baseball card curmudgeon? And Nick goes on to tell us, I think some of the ultimates are actually nicer than the other autos. And I could not agree with that more. Let's keep on going. A trio, Josh, a trio of Alexander Ovechkin Young Guns. And the reason I thought these were interesting is because we can compare the grades and see, like, tonight, here we are, May 14th, 2023. How much of a price gap is there between a BGS 9 and a BGS 9.5? And then what's the price gap between a BGS 9.5 and a PSA 10? Is PSA 10 continuing to outperform the 9.5? And what's the difference in value between a 9.5 and a 9? And let's take a look at these subgrades, because that's really where you got to get into that detail. Yep. So on the 9, we've got 2 9s, 195, 185. So this is a perfect 36, not a perfect 36. I think that would be 4 9s, but this is a 36 out of 40, which is a pretty decent grade on a 40-point scale. And this one here, 2 9.5s, a 9, and a 10. So this is a perfect 38. So you've got 2/40ths better, according to BGS's grading assessment of it. I hope everyone understands that Beckett actually grades on a 40-point scale, yep. And then they have an algorithm that arrives at the final grade. So this is a 38. This is a 36. And how much more important, how much is that worth? Now, notice the right side of the card right here, right where the crowd is. You'll notice that there's nothing on the edge. This is a full bleed photo, or I should say there's just nothing there. But look at this copy. You've got the next partition between the glass. So one of these, this one got a 9.5 centering. This one got a 10 centering. So what BGS is telling us is that a perfectly centered card, a perfectly centered Ovechkin Young Gun, has none of that next partition in the picture, whereas this one does. I would like to see how consistent they have been over time with that judgment on the centering. I'm not sure. Let's look at the third one here. Let's look at the PSA 10 and see. So this is a PSA 10. It's got that partition. So Beckett would not have given this a 10. I don't think Beckett would have not been able to give this a 10 based on the centering, because look, it's completely here. It's not here on the 9.5, and it's here on the 9, or the 9.5 centering and the 10 centering. Like, interesting, right?
I feel like that card might be a mistake, because go back to the PSA 10 for a sec. Why would the right partition there is clearly a part of the photo, and a part of the card. And so why would it be, if it's not supposed to be there, then why would it be there in other examples? I don't know the answer to this, and I would love to have an expert, or I guess you'd have to talk to whoever at Upper Deck worked on that set in 2005. But I can't imagine that that's not supposed to be there.
Well, and what this tells me, Josh, is that the raw sheets that are then cut to become cards, the cards on them are big. The pictures of what should be on the card might be bigger than what they are expected to put in the pack. Something like that. Because look at the centering overall here. The way I believe that the centering would be assessed on this card, right to left, would be the distance between the edge of the Upper Deck logo to the edge of the card. But compare that to the edge of the card here to the far left edge of these letters. If that distance here is equidistant to this distance here, I think, and that's just me, I think you'd have a perfectly centered card. And I'm not pulling out the ruler to tell that here. But let's see if any, like right here, this is way larger of a gap than this is here, right? And on this one, you're closer to where you were over here. But this appears off center to me, which, to what you were saying, Josh, I believe you're right. I believe that is meant to be there, and that this centering is actually not a 10. I believe this is more of a 9 on this card, and these are better centered cards than this one. I think Beckett messed up the centering on this grade here myself.
Which is why you never just buy a card based on the grade. Especially at this kind of money.
Yes, and a second thing is also, if you're going to buy a card like this, look at several copies to know what they should look like. You know, if you look at 100 of these and there's 90 that have that partition, this guy right here appearing, and there's 10 where it's absent, I think you can say that this is the way it was intended to be, and the centering does make more sense. The other place I would look would be like between the L, this here, and kind of like this right here, or the edge of the R, the register mark to here. This looks really well centered to me. And look at that. We have the partition over here. You come down, that is way wider than this is here. So this card is I'm going to say 99% this card is misgraded and overgraded by Beckett Grading Services. I think they messed up this one for whatever reason, or they were not consistent. This card should probably be higher grade than this one. But look, it's hard to know this unless you're really doing an analysis like we are. And at the end of the day, whoever buys this card is getting the better value than this card. And then this one is the way it should be as well. So interesting stuff, huh? Like it's interesting stuff when you really take a deep dive into these things. Not all 10s are created equal. Not all 9.5s are created equal, et cetera, et cetera. All right, let's go down to the next row. I'm a Jambalayas guy. Josh, I love Jambalayas. This is the 2012 Fleer Retro version. Was meant to emulate the original 97 Jambalayas in basketball. And this card did a great job of it. The only thing that would make this card better, Josh, is if he was in an Oiler uniform. No offense to the LA Kings fans out there, but that would just, prop up its value and make it that much and its demand. It's so because people want him mostly in Edmonton, second most in in LA, then New York, then St. Louis is kind of my perception of the demand. I do love these cards. I love Jambalayas. The grade is not as important to me on them, but I will show you a couple of things to look for. And we're going to have to take a look at the back of this card, Josh, for me to show one of those things. So I'm going to open it up here. And, that's okay. There's no video, which is great. So edges, you always want to look at the back of a Jambalaya to see the edges, because you'll notice that they often chip around the border, and that is normal. And I mean, when I say normal, I mean it's hard to find one with a perfectly clean reverse. Like, look at the bottom here. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Now, I'm not picking on this. I have a lot of Jambalayas in my personal collection, and I don't even really discern the back edge. It doesn't bother me so much. It's not ideal, obviously, but it doesn't bother me that much. And you have to be able to get your head around that. The other thing I look at is centering on the front of the card, because sometimes they're just cut off center. And the way that I judge that is, I'm going to do something different here. I don't like the way this is showing us. We're going to do it this way. So here we go. So you want to just measure the border. You can see right here along the bottom, this border I think it's slightly narrower than this one up here. It certainly is. So notice that Beckett has said centering is an 8.5. While I do see it's off center, I think that's harsh. I think 8.5 is harsh personally. I don't think it's that bad. The centering edges got an 8. That's kind of what you expect with the Jambalaya, and that is not from the front of the card. This is a lenticular surface, one of those 3D rigid type of surface cards. That this edge score is because of the back. Corners always get a 10 on these because they just don't exist, so they default to 10. And surface has an 8.5, which I can't really speak to why looking at this card here. Overall, I would happily add this card to my personal collection. I don't mind that edges. That's what you want on an 8.5. Okay, why? Well, it's edges. I don't mind. Centering, I think, is harshly graded on this one. So a really nice card. Josh, what are your thoughts on Jambalayas and what we just went through here?
I really love the Jambalaya personally. And I don't know if you had this experience. It was probably a while ago now, but you never really get it until you see them in person, especially in good lighting. Like when I had only seen them on computer screens like this, I was like, yeah. And then when I saw the first one ever at a local card shop, I was like, whoa, okay, now I get this. I'm hooked. And I know you said too that it's not preferential to you that he's in the King sweater, but if you account for the fact that in the original Gretzky, or the first Gretzky Jambalaya from 2008. He is in the Oilers. So I think this one actually complements that if you were to collect them both pretty well. And so, from that aspect, that doesn't bother me. I just love this card. I think it's super cool. And price has been a little all over the place on it. Not that there's a ton of copies. So all-time high when in last May it sold for almost $4,000, $3,850, but then it sold again most recently for 1,585 US. So it's probably right at that range right now, where I would say it's a pretty decent buy. But I'm a big fan of the Jambo. I don't have any, and I would love to get the opportunity to kind of own one myself.
Yeah, no. And I appreciate what your early comment there, how being in a Kings uniform would complement his 08 Jambalaya from Fleer EX, that he is pictured in an Oiler uniform. And then his next Jambalaya is also in an Oiler uniform that came out after this, I think 2013. So actually, I really like that comment, Josh. That actually makes this card better for me now than worse because of that. So yeah, thanks for that additional piece of info, or just that context. Yeah, really good call out there. Very quickly, the professor says, what is the multiplier similar card PSA 10 versus Beckett Black Label? I think it's going to vary from card to card, Professor. You'd need to just do your own comp research and check that out. I don't think that there's a general rule, although there's probably an average. And Cards AH, good evening. Yes, it was nice meeting you briefly in Edmonton as well. I definitely remember meeting you. So good to see you here in the chat tonight. Okay, Josh, next up, a couple of the Cup RPAs, the 2014 Leon Draisaitl, which we've seen some of these go for like big money recently, like $4,000. I think we saw one go for last week. This one's and this is a BGS 9 sitting at 1,700. I'm guessing last week's was a PSA 9 that did what, $4,300 if I remember correctly. So, if that is the difference between a PSA 9 and a BGS 9, literally like more than double the value for, and this isn't over yet, I recognize, but more than double the value for a PSA 9 over a BGS 9, we got to take a deeper look. Corners are an 8.5. Everything else is mint 9 or better. Centering is a 10 on this card. But let's look at the corners and see what's going on there to give this thing a corner grade of 8.5. There's a bit of a glare here. So, but despite it, that corner does not look to be bad to me. I don't see anything wrong with it. Bottom right looks good to me. Bottom left, it looks good, but it's tough to say. I can't really tell. Top left, maybe a touch of white there, but looks fine to me. Unless there's something going on in the back. I don't think this card is, I don't know that corner grade is right, but I can't say it's wrong. So I'll just sort of leave that at that. Surface 9.5, edges 9, centering 10. Yeah, centering looks almost perfect to me. This looks maybe a hair wider than this side to me, but hard to tell without. Actually, I'm pretty certain it is wider down on the right side than on the left side. And you can also, actually, a better place to look is right here, from where the foil kind of ends to the edge of the card. A tad wider here than over here. So but that still may be within Beckett's allowance for a 10 centering. It may not have to be 50-50 on the nose. We'd have to check their standards. So, and then, a Jack Eichel RPA. The one thing about this card that is a little bit misleading is that I don't believe this card came out of a 2015 The Cup pack. I believe because he didn't have an autograph deal with Upper Deck at the time. Leaf had the deal with Jack Eichel. I believe that this card would have been pulled out of a pack in 2017 or the 2018 product whenever they did get those autographs in. Maybe it was even 17, 18, 19, some in one of those years. That said, and I used to make this argument back then, it's not going to matter when it came out of a pack, because 5-10 years from now, all people are going to look at is, what does this say on the grading slab? and what does it say on the back? And I looked at the back of this card when I was looking at this card, a couple days ago, and it says 2015 on the back. It was in the trademark, small print stuff. I don't know maybe that's when it was printed, but I don't think it was signed until later on. And it certainly didn't come out of a 2015, the Cup pack. The card that came out of the 2015 Cup pack for the Jack Eichel rookie, what would have been an RPA, was not autographed. And it didn't say autographed here. So there's really two versions of this card out there. Josh, let's go to you. Thoughts on these two cards and everything that I've just gone through?
Yeah, I'll start with the Draisaitl. Well, actually, I'll make a comment on both. The patches are sick for both cards. Very, very high-end, awesome patches. So you can't go wrong there. The Draisaitl, to me, is right now in a steal territory. $3,900 was the last sale on November 1st. And he's had an amazing year. And that was for a BGS 9. I don't know if does it have a 10 auto grade on the back?
Let's take a look. That could, you know what? Good call. That could be the problem. But if it's a 10 auto on the back, then that's not the problem. It's a 10 auto on the back. So that's not it.
Wow. I mean, that is a very, very great price for that. And then on the Jack Eichel, I know that it was probably, I think you're right, an update card where they would have printed it. They couldn't have got it autoed. So it was probably printed with the original set in 2015 and then later autoed by Eichel and then included as an update subset in a lot of sets. So we're going to see that when the Trilogy checklist was just released, and they didn't do Trilogy last year because of COVID. And so there's a whole slew of 2021 update cards that were probably printed when they just never released the product that will come out when the new Trilogy is released. So I think it's pretty common practice for Upper Deck to do stuff like that. And it would have the 2015 or 16 date because it was printed with the original set. It just wasn't auto, so it just sat there until they could get Eichel to auto it.
Yeah, I completely agree with that assessment of sort of when it was how and when it was produced. Okay, let's keep on going. Like we had above with Ovechkin, now we have 3 Conor McDavid Young Guns, and just guys, 8 minutes left to get in a bid on anything that is in orange down here. This orange means that if this card does not get a bid in the next 7 minutes, it will end. The auction will end on this item, whereas these green ones are going to go into the next window, which is a 5-minute window. With that said, we have 3 Conor McDavid Young Gun rookies, 2 BGS 9.5s, 1 PSA 10. Let's take a look. No, wrong one. Let's take a look at these cards, and just because we did it with the Ovechkin, let's see if there's any glaring centering differences. First of all, the grade centering 10 on this one, 9.5 here, and the PSA 10. So is there a difference between the centering on this card and on this card? So I'm going to look at the, kind of what's going on here. How much of this white, whatever this thing is there on that one versus this one? Is that the same? Is that the exact same amount of white? I mean, it seems to be to me almost exactly. I'm kind of looking at the bottom, how it kind of curves up and then it curves down. I don't know what this is, but see that up and that down sort of thing? It comes down just a bit there. And on this one, comes down just a bit there as well. So side to side, I'm not noticing any difference. Top to bottom, we've got this right above this yellow. There's a bit of a, darker background there. What's going on this one? I don't know.
Same.
Looks to be the same. So we're going to assume if these are both cut perfectly, that the bottoms and the left side will be the same. So we won't get into that assessment. But I did notice right here, this bottom right corner seems to definitely be showing a touch of white. This card's corner's got a 9. So that explains that. The top corner looks great. Both top corners look great. Bottom left corner I don't think that's a corner issue. I think that's just a bit of a reflection on the foil. I'm not sure. It could be a touch of white. Could go either way on that. And on this one, something sort of funky seems to be going on this bottom right corner, but I can't really tell. That might just be the picture. There's definitely a bit of fray coming off this card, but I don't mind some fray. Top corners look really good, and the corners here got a 9.5. So a little bit better than this, a half a grade better than these corners. That makes sense to me because this corner definitely shows more wear than this one here. Let's look at the centering on this one now. The 10, yeah, looks to be maybe a bit of a smaller gap up here than on this one. This one, I got to maybe zoom in to get it to be more apples to apples. Look right here, this little darkness there. You got a little bit of darkness right there. And here, yeah, maybe the centering is actually the same on this one. So, well within. And it's because it's like, who even cares? You can't even really tell the centering on these cards unless you're really going to, measure the gap between the upper deck emblem here versus, kind of the edge of the R down here to the edge of the card, or this gap over here to over here. So, but I think with Young Guns and their full bleed image nature, it's like the centering just isn't as important anyway. Yeah. So listen, I definitely prefer this 9.5 to this Beckett 9.5 simply because of the bottom right corner. And as of right now, this one is selling at is currently bid at $50 higher. And the 10, there is this fray. Is it coming into the card at all? I'm not sure what's going on here down this right edge. But I'm gonna defer to PSA's assessment that this is a very clean edge. But that's up to you to decide for yourself. Nonetheless, more than twice the price of these two. More than twice the price for a PSA 10 over a BGS 9.5. Both of them are considered gem mints. I'd say you're getting, if you're just buying the card, there's, an extra, a way more value in this card than this card as it stands right now. Josh, what do you think? There's a lot there.
Yeah, a lot to unpack there. I really agree with you in this card in particular that I do think the BGS 9.5 has a lot more value. The pop count there is about 7,500. There's about 2,500 PSA 10s. I mean, there's 10,000 of these. So this is not a scarce card. This is just owning a card of an iconic player. And I think you're much better off going for value in this case because there's just so many of these dang things. And so I have a question for you, Jeremy. Do you think at this point that this is one of the 5 most iconic hockey cards ever produced?
No, I can't. Oh man, I mean, my gut says no, but the more I think of it today, listen, I have to put on my 2023 hat here and say we're not in 1990 or the year 2000 anymore. We are in 2023. This card is 8 years old already. Top 5, I mean, Gretzky or
Lemieux. I think it might be.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, I have the same reservations and I have the same kind of weird feeling that you get about that. But I think it's time that we acknowledge really how iconic and important this card is. It really is what I think has shaped the modern hobby.
So Gretzky or Lemieux, I'm going to say are definitely in the top 5. And notice I'm not saying Bob. I'm not saying Gordie Howe. I'm not saying Beliveau or any of those other guys. Gretzky, Howe, Lemieux, I believe would be in the top 5. And then you almost have to, I'm not going to go with the Lindros score rookie. I mean, we're not going to go with the Jagger Opeachy Premier. Great, great cards, but I don't think they get into that discussion. The Brett Hull rookie would have been there back in the day, but not anymore. I'm sure I'm missing a few, but then you get to the Crosby Young Gun and the Ovechkin Young Gun. That's 5. So, but then the question becomes, is the McDavid more iconic than the Ovechkin or the Crosby?
I think so, because the hobby was so much smaller back then. That like I said, to me, and this is just, listen, there's no right answer. This is just sort of the fun kind of hobby conversations that you can have. But like I said, to me, this really is the beginning of the modern, this card is the signal of the modern hockey hobby. And with a pop count of 10,000, I think would be the primary evidence to back that up, that where the Crosby PSA 10 is 900.
Yeah, no, I hear you. We might lose some second page cards here because it looks like a few items have now sold. We're going to see this Jack Hughes is now, oh, wait a second. It looks like it sold. So that one's done. And this PSA 10 McDavid has sold for $3,120. Anything else sold on us yet? The Kariya did $60. The Bobby Orr here did $162. And that's it for what we're watching. I don't know what's left on page 2, but let's try and get there before the next 5 minutes runs out on us. And with that, though, very quickly, 90s hockey collector, good to see you. The professor, the auto, the card was printed in 2015, but not autoed in 2015-16 or packed out in 15-16. Sports Card 613, what's going on? Ola, Irving Minera, always a pleasure to see you, my friend. David G, what is going on? Hopefully we'll get to that. And the professor, we'll have to think about that one shortly. Okay, so here we have, Josh, an Premier collection. Sorry, just Upper Deck Premier, McDavid, RPA out of $299, I believe, $199, sorry, at $2,100. A one-color patch. We do see these with various colors, so, but a gorgeous autograph, a true rookie. Just a nice, clean-looking card with a nice acetate finish on top. We've got a 2016 O-Pee-Chee Platinum Retro Black Rainbow on-card auto, Alexander Ovechkin at $470. Seems like a good price to me right now in an SGC 9.5 holder. And then a Jack Hughes Future Watch auto at a $999 PSA 10. Yeah, and Jack Hughes is a player who's definitely on my radar right now. Josh, I'm going to just put this one out to you and hear your comments on all three.
I like to me, the McDavid is, if you want a McDavid patch auto on a beer budget, this is a great option.
It's not $150,000 like his cup copy is. You're getting a patch. I do believe these are like photo shoot patches on the McDavids, which is pretty common in other sports. In hockey, we tend to get some game worn stuff, but I do believe that this is a photo shoot jerseys, and it's a one color, but that's why it's where it is at $2,100 right now. And like you said, this is a very affordable RPA. I shouldn't say very affordable, relatively speaking, for an RPA of Conor McDavid. Please continue, Josh, if you have anything to say about these.
Oh, and then I love the OV. I love that set from O-Pee-Chee Platinum. And I think that what I've definitely learned over the past 6-7 months is that there is a huge momentum behind O-Pee-Chee Platinum in the hobby. And I think it's becoming more and more important. And so I think that's good for people to think about. And then on Jack Hughes, it's been an amazing year where you have, on tomorrow's show, we kind of contrasted the Maple Leafs and Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner with the Devils and Jack Hughes, and how it's kind of a tale of two stories, where it's seen as a major disappointment what's happened in Toronto, where the Devils were just as easily dispatched as the Maple Leafs were, but you have Hughes, who took a big step up in the regular season, a very young team. I think them making it to the second round is that it's a lot more glass half full right now when looking at the Devils, and very much glass half empty when looking at the Maple Leafs. And so I think that there is an opportunity next year for Hughes even to take another step up. And so I think, like yourself, that makes him very interesting to a lot of people in the hobby.
I do too. I think there's an opportunity for him to take a step up. I'm bullish on Jack Hughes as a hockey player. So, and you're right. Like Toronto, it was a travesty that they got knocked out in 5 games here against Florida, whereas the Devils are celebrating getting into the second round with their young team, which has a lot of potential. Next row, a Cale Makar, PSA 10, SPA, Future Watch Auto. We have a Jack Hughes. This is the rookie tribute version. This looks like the 08-09 version. The 09-10, I guess, version. It's a retro Future Watch Auto. So not a true rookie, but still a gorgeous rookie year card. And then an Igor Shesterkin. This is a cup rookie tribute from 2019, the cup of him out of 10. I don't know, and I'm just not sure. This must be a rookie year card as well. Is his rookie year 2019, Josh?
Yes.
Shesterkin? Yeah. So this is a great card. If you're a Shesterkin fan, this is actually a great card in my opinion. I do love these cup rookie tributes. Over to you, Josh, on all three.
Cale Makar, he's in value territory. Could he be a hobby kind of comeback player of the year after everything going right for him last year and struggling a little bit this year, but still obviously an amazing player? And so I like anything there. And about the Hughes too, Jeremy, what's so fascinating is if this was their first day in the hockey hobby and you showed the regular Future Watch auto above, that's double the price and it's numbered out of $9.99, and the retro tribute is numbered out of what, $3.99.
Yeah.
It makes no sense on face value, right? None whatsoever. But that's just one of the beautiful things that you learn about this hobby and kind of what collectors prefer. And so I think there's always value with these over the long run. And then I agree with you a ton on the tribute rookie for Shesterkin. It's just an amazing card, super limited to 10. And so at $1,300, and given the level of talent he has, to me, I think whoever bought that at 1,300 is going to be really happy over the long haul.
Yeah, especially if he had a great season 2 years ago. This year he fell off a bit, but still a good season. If he can get back to 2 years ago, this is a great card, and he is the future in net for that team. It is funny though, the difference between this card, which is the true rookie, and this, which is like a rookie year card, but not an RC. And I think the difference is this is an original design. This is not, but that's the only thing that favors this card over that card, because otherwise they have all the same attributes, except this one, there's 600 fewer copies, and that's a big deal. That's 60% fewer. So, all right. Gosh, I don't want to lose this page. So I'm going to do this very, very quickly, you guys. I'm going to open up a new window, and I'm going to do the same search, but I'm going to do it and get to that second page really quickly. While this is loading, we got a bunch of comments here, and we'll get to them in a second here. Let's go to my favorites really quick and see what is left in the auction that is on the second page. If we come all the way down to the bottom, yeah, so looks like the only two that we don't have are these ones here. So we've got this Signature Materials Cale Makar, $9.75. This is a rookie patch auto. This is like an insert set within the cup. It's not a true RC, but it is a true rookie year card, $1,000. And an Alliance gold of Crosby and Malkin at a 25. I think it was you guys, Josh, that I was listening talking about what does Alliance come from, and I think you guys got there. It's alloy because it's out of Metal Universe, and it's a play on the word alloy and the play Alliance. So credit to Billy Celio, who I think came up with that one. And a fun card for $45 is actually a really nice price for any Crosby card out of 25. Someone should grab this. I'm just going to put that out there. Somebody watching should grab this card. Now, listen, I'm not saying it's going to be worth $500 anytime, but I just want to see the subgrades before I do kind of put that out there. 8.5 corners, 8.5 edges, 9 centering, 9.5 surface. So, what you have to get your head around if you're going to buy a card out of 25 with kind of 8.5 corners and edges is that there's only 25 of these. And if this is a card you want, you take it when you can get it, sort of thing. And for $52, which is like 63 or whatever with buyer's premium, I think it's not a bad deal. But let's go back here for a second now and come down, because I like seeing what these cards sold for. So we'll go to the top, and I want to see the clock. We have a minute. So let's just hold here. No, we will look at the sold. So the Rod Gilbert, we talked about it before, sells for $396 for a PSA 7. Congratulations, seriously, to the buyer of that. The Cournoyer, Josh, you said sold for like $1,600, maybe at a high point, does $1,260 tonight. I think this is a great copy of the card. And again, I congratulate the new owner of it. Keep it on going. If you want to jump in here, Josh, at all, please do. The Orr does 162, the Gretzky 82 Gretzky. So this is not a 1981 card again. This is a PWCC, just a typo here. I think they know what this is, but and it's on the slab. So definitely just a typo. Yeah. 81 O-Pee-Chee is actually an 82 O-Pee-Chee, does $780. The Kariya does 60, 37.20. So I think this got one more bid after we talked about it. It was at 3,000, must have done 3,100 or so. Congratulations. I'm envious of the new owner of this card. Crosby Young Guns does 27.60. That is sold. So now only the BGS 9. This is a better card than this one, you guys. This card is this 9. We looked at it earlier, is actually a better card than this 9.5. This is overgraded. We concluded on that. So, but not everybody buys the card. A lot of people just buy the grade. And if that's the case, then, congratulations to you. If you're going to bid on this, the PSA 10 Ovechkin does 43.20. All three sold here. 1380, Josh. That's quite a fall from grace for this card. You said we had seen it sell for close
like
to
$1,500.
$5,000.
So yeah, it sold for $4,000, but then the last sale was about $1,600. So it continues to drop a little bit, but I would have, especially if you're buying that card from a PC, I would be really happy, I think, at that price, because over the long haul, these are always going to have value, I think.
I love them. The Draisaitl Cup RPA does 23.10, and the Jack Eichel does 5.28. Wow.
So the Draisaitl was half of its last sale. To me, that's the buy so far of the auction.
Yeah, hard to argue that. I think this is a buy too. Eichel beat McDavid the other night and was on the score sheet. Like, it used to be Eichel versus McDavid back in 2014, leading up to the draft, and even in their first year. We know how that's gone, but who knows if Vegas can beat Edmonton tomorrow night, this card could go on a bit of a run. We'll see.
They're playing right now, Jeremy.
What?
It's 2-1 Edmonton.
Oh, it's right now. Shoot, I forgot. What am I talking about? What's the score?
2-1 Edmonton. McDavid has a goal.
2-1 Edmonton. All right, I'm cheering hard for the Oilers tonight, everybody.
Still in the first period.
First period, 2-1 Oilers. Thank you, Josh. Okay, and McDavid with a goal. Okay, the McDavid 9.5 does 15.90. The PSA 10 does 31.20. The Premier RPA 26.40. The Hughes does 5.88 and 12.90 there. Okay, so we have a few minutes left on some of these, but I think that, and actually, if we come back now to...
I do have one comment that I'd like to make on that Alliance card with Crosby and Malkin, is I think over the long haul that cards that show the kind of iconic players from an era of a team will always do better. So having a card with both Crosby and Malkin on it, to me, I think 10 years from now will have even more meaning than it does today. And I know that you're a Temu fan, and I just picked up, I'll try to show it, from Stadium Club in 99, the refractor that has Temu with his arm around Paul Kariya. And that's one of the reasons why I really loved this card, is because it depicts, even though it is a Solani card by name, it depicts both those guys from that era and on that team.
You're not wrong on that, I don't think. And I love that card, by the way. I have a copy myself. There's a card from 1983 O-Pee-Chee. It's Team Leaders card or something like that. It's one of those subset cards, and it portrays Gretzky and Messier together. And that card went on a big run, a big value run in the early 90s. That was like a key non-rookie card, maybe I'll just leave it at a key non-rookie card of each of those guys that a lot of collectors were going after, I remember, in the early 90s. And it's still a pretty cool card to get those two guys together. So, there is a precedent. I don't think people care about that card so much today as they did back then. There's just so many options, but I think you're onto something there, and I can kind of get behind it. Okay, let's go to some comments, because I think right now pretty much everything we're looking at is sold. There's a few left. So this, but for the centering, beautiful Tim Horton rookie card does 23.10. The 444 on the Bobby Hull Topps test. I think these all had sold by the time we looked at them before. This one is still alive. The inappropriately centering graded BGS 9.5 Ovechkin Young Gun is at 18.25, still running. Those have all sold. This is still running, sold, going, and one here going still. And then if I click this page, let's do it, and then I'll just back up. There's gonna be nothing there. There's gonna be nothing there. So I'm just going to let's just do all, and then we'll come back to my favorites, and we will see what is still open for bid and still alive in tonight's auction. There shouldn't be many cards here that we looked at, and these two are now gone. So let's just refresh this one more time. Ooh, should have looked at it. 1,500 there. Okay, should have looked at those. 2 cards left, Josh. One being the Alliance Crosby Malkin at $78, and then the Ovechkin Young Gun BGS 95 that is that the centering is just misgraded, but still at 18.25. So we have these 2 left. While we let these 2 finish off, Josh, I'm going to go to some comments. Unless you have anything else to jump in with before I do that.
Just one quick thing before you do that, and it's one of the things that is. So I think as we look towards the next 12 months in the hobby, to me, the 2 biggest kind of questions or mysteries or things that I can't wait to see play out are, of course, what happens with Connor Bedard and his play in his rookie cards, but then with Ovechkin. And who knows where this is going. When we see his PSA 10 Young Guns going for upwards of $5,000 right now, and if he scores 40 goals next year and gets even closer and plays, and maybe if they even make the playoffs, I think it's impossible right now to accurately predict what's going to happen. And I think that that's beautiful. And, and I just can't wait to see it unfold.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting for sure. All right. Thanks for that, Josh. The professor says the back of the McDavid card says the patch is event used, meaning photo shoot, rookie showcase event, that sort of thing, professor. That's when Upper Deck gets all these rookies together, sits them in a room, puts jerseys on them, and gets them to sign a bunch of cards and stickers. Josh Sherber says, I've been picking up more OPG Platinum instead of Young Guns. Love the product and affordable numbered rookies. Josh Sherbert is flexing his savviness right there, guys. This is what I do too. This is, I don't do Young Guns anymore. I had so many people come up to me at the Edmonton Expo saying, do you have this Young Gun or that Young Gun, or are you buying? And I look, it's all Young Guns. And my standard line is, I don't do Young Guns. Not that they're not worthy. I know Josh loves Young Guns. A lot of people love Young Guns. They're kind of the market maker, if you will. I'm just not into them myself. I want something a little bit rarer for my own collection. So maybe it's, I don't know, savvy might not be the word, but I'm with you, Josh Sherber. I'm with you.
I have a comment about that too, Jeremy, in that I think that anyone today that is looking at a Young Guns from an investment standpoint, if you love the card and you just want to collect a player, go for it. But you have to consider the gem rate, because when you look at, for instance, the McDavid Young Guns has a 71% gem rate, and not that there's maybe a ton more out there, but when you get into those specific cards that have these gem rate, like Jack Hughes is a great example. I love Jack Hughes. I'm really excited about him. I would never buy his Young Guns because it's in the 70%, and it was 2019 print. And so there's probably a lot of copies that are still out there. On the flip side, you have Cole Caulfield, 30% gem rate. Now that's a card that is interesting to me because although, and I believe if you go and you look up Jack Hughes, and I might be wrong, but I think this is close, there's about the same amount of graded, but there's 2,500 Jack Hughes and there's about 1,500. There's been 5,000 Cole Caulfields that have been graded and only 1,500 PSA 10s because that gem rate is 30%. So you're going to have built-in scarcity based on the overall quality when that series was produced. And so when I look at Young Guns, I immediately look up gem rate, and that to me is kind of one of the big factors, whether I'm in or out on a specific card.
Well said. And very important top item to bring up there. Gem rate, so important. So important when assessing rarity and just overall numbers. Fact Sakes says Hughes is a superstar in waiting. Imagine if we ever get a World Cup. Hughes, Caulfield, and Zegras could reunite on a line. That would be electrifying with those 3 guys for sure. That'd be magical. Magical. Collectors Canada says Makar is better than every defenseman in NHL history not named Bobby Orr. I mean, yeah, I think it's a little early to say that. We haven't seen a big enough sample for me to really get there, but maybe that's the way it's going. Offensively, I think you're probably right, although Paul Coffey might have something to say about that. He was speedy and could move the puck in his day, really well. But I think that for me, the jury's out. I don't agree with that today completely, but I'm not saying that it's not going to happen. And then David G says Makar didn't really struggle this year, just had to deal with some injuries. Still at 65 points in 61 games. Good point. Fact Sakes, did the Hughes Future Watch auto or the Makar sell for more. I think the Hughes sold for more. I think what did it do, like 18, and the McCarr did like 14 or 15, I think. But you can go back and check yourself back. Go Oilers name. Go Oilers. I'm with you. 90s Hockey Collectors, the Stadium Club had great pictures. The Yzerman looks great. Very good. Couple updates on the score. CC says, aren't all McDavid RPAs event or photo shoot patches? I think so. I always kind of get confused. I always forget what the deal is on that cup card. I think the cup is photo shoot or event used. I do believe maybe the limited logos from cup are not, but are those RPAs? That's another discussion. Josh, anything on these comments?
Yeah, the only comment I would make on McCarr is that the what's the best ability in sports is availability, right? And so at the end of the day, I get it. I'm not saying he had a terrible year, but it was down from the year before. I don't.
Is that true though? That the best ability is availability? Because
100%.
But look at, okay, so Doug Jarvis was the Iron Man in hockey for so long. Nobody cares about Doug Jarvis because he didn't miss a game. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's the best. It's important, but is it the best? Is it the most important ability? I don't know.
Well, if you can't be there to produce, then all the talent in the world means nothing, right? And as I think that and in hockey that's been, again, maybe this is a little bit of a controversial topic, but getting back to McCarr, our just stance has been, and I don't know how we could have followed up on it's like the year of McCarr, right? The prior year where everything turned up roses for him. It was Bobby Orr this, Bobby Orr that, every comparison. And it's same thing happened to Matthews this year, right? Yeah, he had some injuries, but when you go from 60 goals to 40 goals and then people still say, well, he still scored 40 goals, but it was a down year, and his hobby values reflected it, and McCarr's hobby values have reflected it too. They've been down.
Yeah. No, fair. I think that was a likely outcome on McCarr. I'm not saying I would have predicted it, but I'm not surprised by it. And now really what's going to matter is next year. And, will he be healthy throughout, and will he perform at the levels that he has, which
I expect him to.
And I hope him to.
Yeah.
Expect and hope. Yeah. Okay. Cards Nick Martelli O-Pee-Chee Platinum will be like the prism of hockey with the color parallels. As far as the numbered ones will stand above the unnumbered ones, I believe. He says it keeps its scarcity, which is so key. Cards I think seeing print runs increase, the perceived value of Young Guns is decreasing. Could be. We'll know a lot about Bedard, but he could totally foil that hypothesis just based on what he may or may not do coming out of the gate. Nick Martelli says people are even looking at the black bordered out of 100 O-Pee-Chee marquee rookies and heritage rookies. Those are cool cards. Those are very cool cards. Collectors Canada tells us that McDavid is on a mission tonight. I want to end this and go watch. So thank you, Collectors Canada. The professor says, spent most of my card money on Mother's Day and only had 100 left and picked up the Alliance. Professor, nice. Congratulations. I'm happy for you. It sold for $93.60 tonight. This one went to our viewer, the professor. Happy to hear that. Cards AH haven't missed a game this year. Me greater than McCarr.
There you go.
Good tongue-in-cheek comment, Cards AH. And Nick Martelli says, McCarr is the most impactful D-man we've seen in a long time, especially considering how quickly he went from NCAA right to NHL. Maybe Ray Bourque is closest we've seen to him. Yeah, I mean, fair comment. I got nothing more to say about it. I thank you all. Fact sakes, throwing a vote towards the black border O-Pee-Chees. Great cards. Yeah, out of a paper product like that. Yeah, those are pretty cool. Okay, guys. So the auction, the 32 cards that we were watching have all been sold tonight. I think we can just unshare and congratulate the winners.
Can I step in? Sorry, Jeremy, to interrupt you, but please. I think we do have to go find that McDavid tribute, don't we?
Okay. So let's then do this. And let's go to my favorites, but I can now should be able to go to sold. Here we go. Closed. So here we'll see the cards that we just didn't get to. They should all be on page 2. This is everything that we were planning to look at tonight. This sold for $588, $1470 on the Hughes. Where was the Makar?
Down.
1470 on Hughes. So Makar sold for more. My bad. I said it reverse back before. 1800 on Makar, 1470 for Hughes. I can see that being the case. And then let's see what's on page 2 here. There's going to be a few cards here that we didn't even look at tonight. We just didn't get to them in time. So we had this Makar does 1200, the Cup signature materials. The Hughes Young Gun PSA 10 does 222, where the Makar doubles it exactly, Josh, to 444. Do you have any comments on those, Josh?
Yeah, like I said about I love Jack Hughes. The Young Guns card, it's way too high pop, way too high gem rate for me, and I would much rather go the OPC platinum route than the Young Guns. But love the player, so that would be my comment there.
All right, we had a Shesterkin Cup RPA. So the tribute sold for $12.90, I believe, and his actual RPA in a PSA 9 out of $249 to $690. We had a McDavid Jambalaya, an achievement Jambalaya, PSA 6 that did $588. And then here we go. Here's the one that we were asked about. The exquisite tribute, Conor McDavid, PSA 9 did $4,800. I mean, I'd seen people asking like 25 grand for this card, and I knew that they were really looking for, I don't want to say a sucker maybe, but a payday or something. And I think where this ended at 4,800 is much closer to where I expected the value to be. So nice to see. And look what the Lafreniere does, $276, telling me that people are starting to just kind of move on from him. I wonder if any of that price has to do with him not being in a Rangers uniform, but being in Team Canada. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I would think so. And it's probably time to move on. I think that McDavid is such an interesting card to me. It's like you can convince yourself on one hand that it maybe should be worth 25,000, and then you can equally convince yourself it shouldn't be. And I believe this is the first public sale. It just came out in 2020, the Cup. There's only 25, so that makes sense. But anytime you're referencing that iconic 2003 exquisite, where of course it's a homage to the LeBron James rookie, it's a super interesting card.
What I love about it is that it is NHL game used. The patch itself is, so that's nice to see. I just checked that out, but I'm not surprised being this far, a 2020 card. And that brings me to Cards AH's comment here. Do you guys like throwback rookie cards? I do. I don't like them all, but I definitely do like them. I like these new all-time Future Watch, which are not a throwback in that they're an original Future Watch design of the legends, but they're just not really rookie cards, even though they present as such. I think those are cool. I do like the Cup tributes. I love these exquisite tribute. I mean, the 05 Cup tributes I love, and I love these 03 exquisite tributes as well. And this card, I really like this card at this price and would love to own one personally. Go ahead, Josh.
Another comment I would like to make on page 2, Jeremy, is going back up to the McDavid Jambalaya. And I love so much what Upper Deck does. I don't love the achievement versions of cards like these. I just think it really confuses a lot of collectors, number one, and it clouds the value. These are tough hits in a hobby box. And when you hit one, and then to have and I know that they put him in I think he's probably in a white jersey in the hobby. And so they make him distinctive from that perspective. But this is one where, and I think I've maybe even told Billy at Upper Deck this at some point, I wish they would come up, if they want cards through EPAC that are special, come up with a unique design. Come up with something that's an EPAC exclusive. I can get behind that. I just don't love these sort of like alternate versions that are EPAC achievements. I don't know why I had to throw that in there, but ever since I saw that, it's been bugging me.
Well, I don't know I actually don't know if you and I have had this discussion before, because those words, exactly what you just said, could have come out of my mouth right to the point where I've said to Billy, look, I don't like this achievement stuff. Do something different, not, change them, because for me, and I love Jambalayas, I'm done collecting them. I'm not going to collect any more Jambalayas moving forward as long as they do achievements. I'm not going to collect any card that has an achievement version of it. It's just my personal, I'm putting up a boundary and I'm saying, if this card has an achievement, I'm done. I'm done with that card. And thank you, because I can now, it's, you know, save me some money. Maybe I can buy some other cards instead. I've got lots of jambalayas. So as soon as an achievement comes out for what should be a really important card, I get kind of like, I just shake my head and say, I'm done. Now, I don't blame them for doing it. I don't blame them for what they're doing. I mean, they're a business they're a business. They want to sell cards, and these are tough to hit. But yeah, I'm exactly. And I told Billy that myself too. So if they're going to keep on doing achievements, I'm going to just not be collecting cards that have them. So that's what I'm doing. Cards AH says, I've been looking at the new Metal X cards from Skybox, but then there are the achievements. I talked to Billy. He loves them. They're called metallics, I believe, right? That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, they're called metallics. These,
even though they're spelled as Cards AH says. I was going to pick up a couple, especially because Billy loves them. I thought, Billy loves them. I love Billy. I'm going to, transitive property. I should have one or two of these in my collection. But then I noticed they have achievements. Okay, I'm out. Cards AH says they're the same, but alternate picture, right?
Yeah.
And David G says, Jeremy, can you get them to finally drop the congratulations? I've been trying, David. Stop congratulating us for paying for your cards. We don't need to, like, you're pandering us by saying, congratulations, you have received. I didn't receive it. You didn't send it to me unknowingly. I paid for this.
But is that intended, though, as a pack pulled sort of message?
Yeah, it goes back to it's just something that they've never changed from back when, pulling an autograph or a jersey card was really, really hard. Like I'm talking 96, 97. And it's time now when you open a pack and every card, SP Game Used, for example, or, some products have every card is a hit, like the cup. I don't need congratulations for a time. Like, I really feel like they're patronizing us with that. But it's obvious. It's also not something I'm going to hang my hat on and get too crazy about. I don't think it's that important, but it is one of those pet peeves of mine that I've had for a while. And David G must remember me. I don't think we've talked about this in a long time. So Nick Martelli says, clarify the achievements thing. Yeah. Josh, do you want to take this? You know more about EPAC than I do.
Yeah, there's certain, and again, I'm not a total expert on it, but there's, if you collect, so Upper Deck will put checklists in EPAC, and they'll say, if you get all the, let's say the top prospects from the 2020 Skybox Metal release, and let's say there's 25 players on the checklist, if you collect all those through EPAC, it would unlock an achievement. This is not a specific example. It's just meant to illustrate it. So that's one avenue of achievements. Then there's other achievements you can get through combining cards, like most known through Young Guns, where you combine X amount of regular Young Guns to get a silver foil, and then a number of the silver foils to get the speckled rainbow. That can have a lot of values. And so it's just kind of a gamification that Upper Deck has built into EPAC, which totally understand what they're doing. It's kind of like similar to a bounty program almost, where if you kind of collect all these cards in a specific checklist, then you get that award. And so this would have been an award for accomplishing some sort of task within EPAC.
Yeah. And just to really close put a bow on that, it is like it's gamification within Upper Deck's EPAC program. And I didn't even know there were that many different ways to achieve or to earn an achievement, but there's a few different ways to do it. CC says PWCC also writes congratulations when you win an auction item. And listen, I do think that's a bit different, because an auction is like a competitive sort of platform where you are competing against other people. But I don't say you won the card. I've been saying this for years. I won the right to pay for it. So if PWC wants to congratulate me for winning an auction, please congratulate me for the right to buy the item, or for locking up that right to buy the item. A fun distinction though there. CC Cards H learned something new, and Martelli says, okay, it's like back in the day for kids where they had the codes on the back to earn points. Makes sense. Yeah, for sure. Okay, guys, we're gonna wrap up. I want to go watch the Oiler game, the Oiler Golden Knights game. Josh, thank you as always.
No problem.
Guys, to the chat, to the listeners, everybody, thank you for joining. I will be doing a new show tomorrow called Taking Stock, going live late, 11 p.m. Eastern. So join me and Dennis Zender, also known as at PC with DPZ. We'll be streaming that live to Sports Cards Live and to the Sports Card Dad YouTube channels. Tomorrow night, 11 Eastern. That is 9 o'clock Mountain, 7 o'clock Pacific. It is called Taking Stock, and we are going to be taking stock of some issues within the hobby, and that is tomorrow night. That is it, everybody. Thank you for joining. Good night, Name. Appreciate that. Good night to everyone else. Name says, looking forward to the new Gong Show tomorrow morning. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And with that, Josh, good night to you. Good night to everybody. Thank you for joining, and have a great week.